honestly the most craziest day ever. So that day, I was ready to quit. It took me over 1,000 trades to make my first 100,000.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about how I made my first 100,000. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Mari. I have been day trading for 8 years and it took me 2 years to make my first 100,000. To backtrack a little bit, I have never shared this story before. I started talking and making recaps after I had my first $100,000 month, which now that I look back into it, I feel like you want to validate yourself and you want to show the flashy numbers and the good months, but I believe what actually made me into the best trader I can be is how hard and rough making that first $100,000 were. Because I had the knowledge, I was seeing people around me make it, and I knew what I had to do, but at the same time, I was so lost and I had no idea what I was doing. And 6 months into trading, I almost quit. If you're in the intermediate stage and you feel like you know trading, you know what's going on, and you know how to use the platforms, but at the same time, you don't know how to take one strategy and turn it into 100,000, then this video is for you. And I can't promise that you're gonna make 100,000, but I can just share everything that I knew and all the realizations that I had from going to knowing nothing, almost quitting, to then making 100,000. Let's go ahead and get started with how I did it. It honestly feels like a lot of people are chasing that number. It's like everybody wants to make 100,000, but that is the most difficult number that you're gonna achieve. I know a lot of people say your first million is the hardest. I personally think that becoming a trader is in the first 100,000, and maybe you make 100,000 in like 4 trades. I've heard that before, where people just have really insane gains on maybe just one ticker and then they make their first 100,000. For me, it took me such a long time. It took me over 1,000 trades to make my first 100,000, and I was pretty lost. So let's go ahead and talk about this whole thing and how it all happened. Where it all started, I started trading in 2018. And now if I think about it, I was only 18 years old at the time. So I personally wasn't very invested into day trading at first. And I took a year where I went to Colombia and I realized how hard it was to actually make money and work for somebody else. I realized this is an insane opportunity and I wanted to give it a chance. I came back to the US. I was still learning in 2018. I was watching webinars, I was watching videos, I was watching people around me, I was watching YouTube. So I was understanding what was going on. And I remember there were times where I literally didn't even want to watch the videos. I was trying and I was forcing it, but at the same time, I wasn't taking very seriously. And I know a lot of traders might feel the same way, where you want to dig in and you want to get your feet wet, but at the same time, it's that commitment. It's like, it's so easy to obtain. All you really need is a laptop to open a platform and you can call yourself a trader. That's kind of where I was in the beginning, where I wasn't very invested and I didn't know how big of an opportunity this would be. This is financial freedom. I came back from Colombia and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this seriously because this can happen for me. I know I can work really hard. I know I can study. I know I can do it. So I came back in 2019 and I went to a 10 size conference and I started networking with a lot of the traders there. And I got so inspired because I saw people that didn't go to college, that maybe had a background and went to college, but at the same time didn't pursue it. I was like, I literally feel like I am in their spot. I could do this, right? But luckily I did have my dad who helped me out with the costs in the beginning. I was very young. I didn't have anything saved up. I am very thankful for that. And I started in 2019. I only had 15,000 to trade with, right? During that time, we did have the PT rule. So if you had your account below 25,000, you could only take 3 day trades a week. My dad ended up funding it over 25,000, but I only had 15,000 to my name. I got started. I was very excited. I didn't know how the platforms were working, but I still went ahead and started day trading. And there was a lot of noise, right? This was September of 2019 when I opened my account. I started trading from then, right? My first trade, I think, was that same September, or it was October, the first few days, where I traded KBLB. And I remember I didn't know how to get out of a trade. I longed it, and I remember checking back a month later and I was still long that stock. I never sold it. Problem number one, I didn't know how to use the platforms, and now I was going ahead and trading. That is not okay, but I still went ahead and kept doing that. And now I had YouTube videos, I had courses, I had everybody kind of shouting out different things in the chat room, and everybody's focusing on different things. Now, picture this. I'm starting out. I don't know how to use the platforms. I don't know how to use any of it. And now I'm trading small cap longs, which again, I didn't know what OTCs and listeds were for the first like 2 months, but I was still trading them, right? I had OTC breakouts, OTC panic dip buys, OTC first green days, small cap first green days, small cap breakouts. I was trading everything, right? Something that I was doing right during this whole process was I was screenshotting every single one of my trades. Here, this is the binder that I've had forever, and I would screenshot every single one of my trades. I would write down the date, the strategy that I was trying, and all of the notes underneath. I kept doing that over and over. This is where it starts getting tricky. I'm trading everything every single day, and now I have so many strategies that I think this is how it's supposed to be. I wanted action. I thought the more that I trade, the more that I'm going to understand everything. And now I'm going to be able to trade everything like everybody else, right? 18-year-old Mari thought trading actually means action. The reality was that 6 months in, again, platform issues. I go back into my platforms, and I remember I thought I was up on the year because I was keeping track of absolutely everything. I had recorded that I was up 300 on the year, and then I go and log into my platforms, and I realized from commissions, from losses, and from holding stocks that I didn't even know I was holding, I had a negative $3,000. So I went from 15,000 to 12,000 in 6 months. I remember that same night, I was so confused. I had my new MacBook because during that time I had bought a new MacBook. Again, I'm ready to go. I'm buying everything. I'm making a lot of beginner mistakes, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying I was that beginner that thought I needed the fanciest stuff, that I needed everything to kind of be perfect because I am ready to go. And I remember I had my new MacBook, I was drinking a tea, and I was going through every single one of my trades. I am trading, I don't even remember how many trades exactly, but I think it was, I can't even say it. It was a lot of trades. I was trading maybe 10 times a day, right? Every single day, all different strategies. And I am writing everything down. It was midnight, right? I'm still writing stuff down. I started at 6 p.m. It was midnight. I'm still writing stuff down. This is 6 months in. And I remember having a drink of my tea, and then I put it down and I dropped it all over my new MacBook. I am over here crying because I'm like, my MacBook is ruined. Now I'm also down 3,000, and I wrote it down every single trade. I was down 3,000, including commissions. So I'm over here. This is absolutely insane. This is honestly the most craziest day ever. So that day, I was ready to quit. I told my dad, I'm like, I'm literally not cut out for this. I saw everybody around me make money. I saw everybody was just doing so well. And I lost $3,000 of my money. This is the money that I got for my future, and I lost it because I didn't know what I was doing. And then on top of that, my MacBook stopped working. Now it's midnight, I'm crying, I want to quit. The next morning I tell my dad, that's it, close down my account, because I probably couldn't even figure out how to close my account. I could literally go back and tell 2019 Mari to chill out, to take a breath, and to relax, right? I ended up taking maybe a couple days off, and then another realization. I had all of this data. I literally had all of my binders. I had everything written down. Every single one of my things. I wrote down everything into notebooks. I may not have a MacBook, but at least I have everything on my notebooks, and I have it all recorded. And I am, right now thinking about it, I am so thankful that I had everything recorded, because if I didn't, I don't think I would be here right now. I don't think I would be telling you guys this story, because that was the only thing that saved me. That week, that whole week, I spent going through every single one of the charts, flipping through. And now I know the platforms. Now I'm starting an Excel sheet. I remember Michael Good was sharing his Excel sheet during that time. I got it, I downloaded it, and now I'm adding commissions to it as well, right? So now I gathered all of that data, which was amazing. And I took everything that I had recorded and I put it into 2 setups that were working for me. I thought small caps longs were the best thing ever. Everybody was trading them. I'm like, this is amazing. That was probably my worst strategy, where I honestly didn't make any money at all and I was losing on that. And then I noticed that OTC panic dip buys and OTC breakouts were my best strategies. From everything that I wrote down, those were the 2. And the OTC panic dip buys were my best strategies. I'm over here like, you know what? I think this is it. I think this is exactly what I have to focus on. So now we're in May of 2020. This is where things start getting really interesting. When May comes around, I had my first $10,000 month in June. I know how crazy that sounds, but that is exactly what happened. And the only reason why that ever happened was because I only traded one strategy. The one strategy was the OTC panic dip buys, and I was amazed by it. I was making $100, $100. In May of 2019, that is when I started turning this thing around. OZSC was one of the panic dip buys that was going on for that whole year. And I have a picture, which is right here, where I traded this one in 2019. This is actually, I traded one that I made $38 on, which I guess theoretically, if I would have started with just that strategy, I would have been consistent from the start. But I didn't, because that's part of the beginning, okay? That's part of the beginning. Say you gather a lot of data with smaller size than I did, but gather enough data. And then once you do have that data, then you can sort of like cut that down, right? To just the 2 that are working, and that's the one that you start to size up. I do want to highlight this trade, which is OZSC, where I made $38, and then later that year in 2021, I made $16,000 on it. That is the power of understanding the strategy, because I started off making $38 on it. When I noticed and I narrowed everything down to what actually worked for me, I started trading it, but I was only making $38 on it. Why did I then end up making $16,000 in 8 months after that? It wasn't because I used way bigger size and I went completely crazy. It was because I earned the privilege to size up on this specific strategy, because I was making $38 on it. And then I went on to repeat it 1,000 times, that same exact one. And I knew it like the back of my hand. This didn't come from one day I showed up and I said, I'm going to size up. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. And then end the day with $16,000. No, this was after I repeated everything so many times that I simply could not size up. I started off making $38, $16, $11. And then as the year went on and I started getting more confidence and I started understanding it a lot more, I started adding a little more, $500, $600. And then I went on and on to size up even more. And then in December, that was when I made the $4,400. But that was only after I was trading it so many times that I knew it like the back of my hand. And this same exact process can be repeated. I've seen short sellers start doing it right now. I've seen long traders start doing it right now. I've seen breakout traders doing it right now. I see small cap longs doing it right now. Yes, the market has changed and the market is completely different right now, but that does not mean that this exact process doesn't work in this specific moment. It might not show up as consistently as it did before, but that's only because we're in a different type of market. If you start learning right now and start doing the little bits and pieces, then eventually the market is going to agree with you, and that's when you're going to get that financial freedom. You start off making very little, and then you earn the right to size up only after you've done all of the boring work. Literally, showing up is not easy. Who said showing up and doing the same boring thing again is easy? It isn't, but that is what builds somebody into actually somebody so strong. And it's just going to make you so much better in the end. OZSC is one example. Another one that I have is TSNP during that time as well in December. In December, these are the stats for just TSNP alone. TSNP was also a very amazing trade because I was able to consistently trade it all the time. And I was impatient. I would take the gains very quickly, which now that I look back into it, I'm like, oh, I could have just let them run, but that wasn't my process then. My process was just consistently doing it over and over until I started getting better at it. And then I was able to size it up, but I kept trading it every single day. That is the same process that I'm doing right now with small cap longs. If I know that I am good at breakouts and I am also good at the gappers that are going up, that's what I'm going to focus on. And that is all I do. Some days the setups might show up better than others. I literally just came from a 2-week period where none of my longs showed up. And now yesterday I made 3,300 on CLRO, which was one of the gappers that worked. It is the same process that I'm using right now that I used before. I narrowed down from all of the things that I was learning, and now I'm only doing the 2 things that work for me. And then, say for example, I have a month or 2 in the next year that are amazing. I'm able to really size it up because it's really working very well, and breakouts are confirming and breakouts are going like 2, 3, 4 days. And that is when I create that financial freedom, because I am doing the repetitions right now, which are boring. I am waiting 2 weeks for a setup to literally show up. So when they do start working and the market starts confirming for me, that is when I really can exponentially grow that strategy. Pick what works for you, and then you can worry about the size later. But the repetitions, that is where the magic comes from. And I know it's not fun, but that's just part of the process. So now I want to get into the stats just so you guys can see what I was doing right and why it was a profitable strategy. Here it says the total is $120,000. I made $120,000, lost $17,000 of it. Now we're gonna go into the total trades. I took 1,060 trades to make my first 100,000, which I guess you could say is a lot of trades, which it is, but that's why I say that making the first 100,000 is so difficult. It is just so confusing. It is honestly the hardest part. Not only are you learning trading, you're also learning yourself. You're learning all of the intricacies of trading in the first place. Now you're trying to put it all together, and now you're trying to grow to 100,000. It's a lot, and it all compounds over time, but that's why the repetitions are so boring. And it's like you wake up every single day and you'll have to do the same exact thing. Some weeks it doesn't show up, and I see a lot of new traders now. You guys will maybe message me and say, oh, I've been trading this strategy for like a week and then it stopped showing up, so I moved on to this thing. That is very common. It is exactly what I was doing in the beginning, where it would stop working for a week and then I would trade something else and then I would trade something else. And now I had like 7 different things. Instead of narrowing it down to just one, I had to go through 6 months of almost quitting, and I might not even be here. So I share this to not only share everything that got me here, but also, first of all, you're not alone. If you're in the situation where you feel a little bit lost, we all feel lost. But at the end of the day, it's all gathering everything that you have, which is why it's so important to journal. Gather your data, write everything down so you know what you're good at and what you're bad at. You're never gonna know if you never write it down, right? For here, this is why my strategy was profitable, because my average winning trade was $183. And you might think, oh, only $180 to make 100,000? Yes. My average winning trade for this whole period was $200. That's it. That's insane, right? And then my average losing trade was $50. I guess this is where I would say that the risk to reward was good enough for me to grow that into that consistency and then go from 10, 15, 20,000, because you're compounding so many trades over time, but at the same time, you're getting your reps in, but you're also not putting yourself in situations where the losers are bigger than your wins. For the winning trades, I had 700 winning trades and 300 losing trades. But the difference is, if my average winning gain was say $200 and my average losing trade was $300, then I would be negative. So that's why the stats will reveal where you are. And I just remember having very tight risk because I didn't want to lose more than $50, $100, $150, right? And now my winning trades, I would let them be a little bit bigger. It doesn't even have to be the biggest gain ever, but it just needs to be a little bit bigger. And then that creates that profitability. And the more that you do it, the more you realize this is actually working for me. But that's only after a long period of time that you know. It took me 6 months of journaling everything down I didn't have to lose 3,000, but it still took me 6 months of writing every single thing down for me to realize, okay, this is what's working and this is what isn't working. Now we are going to go into largest winning trade. It was $4,000, and that was around the end of it. It was not in the beginning. It was around the end of it. And my largest losing trade was $500. Again, keeping that small losing percentage, because the smaller the losses, and if you start adding to winners and you start compounding, that's where you're going to get actual profitability. When you cut your losers very short, you never add to them and you just leave them as they are. And then when you have a winning trade, you either give it more room to run and actually prove you're right, or you add to it and you have a bigger gain. That's exactly what I was doing. I only took a few shorts. I wasn't short selling really. I was only going long. I was still trying it, but I wasn't really doing anything. I guess another thing that I could point out is the max consecutive winning trades versus the max consecutive losing trades. I had more winning trades, and I guess that's what's showing me that the pattern that I'm learning works, because it shows up more than a losing trade would. If you have these stats and you know, okay, my strategy shows up more than 5-10 times, and then I lose maybe 2, 3, 4 times, then that strategy is probably not that bad. It might not show up all the time, but if it shows up more than your losing trades, then that's probably not a bad strategy, and you probably shouldn't abandon that one. Percent profitable, 70%. That is high, because now my percentage profitable is maybe 60. Back then it was 70. And again, the market was also working for me, but at the same time, that 70%, say I'm right 70% of the time. If that 30% of the time I'm losing more than the 70% of the time, I'm gonna end up nowhere. I don't think percentage profitability really matters. If your winners are bigger than your losses, you could have a 50% win rate, right? But if your winners are amazing, then it doesn't really matter at the end. Profit factor, 7.9. That's for every dollar that I'm losing, I'm making $8. And those are pretty much the stats for my first 100,000. And now you might be thinking, well, Mari, this was 5 years ago. What do you want me to do with that? I know the market changes. The market has been so different ever since the OTCs stopped working, and OTCs were amazing. Now it's different. I personally would do the same exact thing I did from the beginning and do it all now. I know there's a lot of short sellers. There's also big cap long traders. There's also small cap traders who have made $1 million in the past year to 3 years, right? At the end of the day, there are still millionaires being created. There are still people crossing 100,000. This, if you go back into the history, the same way that I did it, finding different strategies, maybe learning from them, very small size, finding your personality, journaling everything, and then narrowing it down to one. Then once you have that one, keep doing it over and over and over and over. And then once you do it over and over and over, those repetitions are gonna literally be the ones that are gonna build you into a totally different person. It's a transformation, which is why I say it's not your first million that teaches you, is really your first 100,000, because that's when you're most confused. After I made 100,000, that's when I exponentially grew, and I can actually make a video on how I took this strategy to then making 16,000 like a month later on that same trade OZSC that I was telling you guys about. In 2021, I made 16,000 on that same exact strategy. The market is always adapting, the market is always changing, but I would do the same exact things. For last year, I started small cap longing again, and this has been probably one of the best years for it. It's all just about adapting, but at the end of the day, you go from taking so many different things, right? Putting it into one and then just repeating it with smaller size, maybe adding a little bit sometimes, maybe not, but always keeping those losses small. And then once you have that, that's when you can keep repeating it, and then the boring thing takes over. And then you just have to let the results tell you, is this working, is this not? But it's not going to tell you in a week or two. It's probably going to tell you 8 months in or something if it's not working. Yeah, that is my story on how I made 100,000, and I would use the same strategy again. I do believe trading has gotten a little bit more difficult, but I believe that all of these steps are turning people into 100,000 and $1 million right now. 2026, a little bit difficult. I've seen a lot of people that are red, but if you start learning right now, the market is always changing. The market's always adapting. And if you're prepared, that same strategy that you've been repeating over time that will give you $100, $200, $300 maybe, might start showing up a lot. And that's when you can really exponentially grow. When you have the repetitions in, when you know what you're doing, and then the market suddenly brings it all together, then you exponentially grow. I believe in trading, you're not gonna have insane years every single year, but it only takes 1 to 2 years for financial freedom. Somebody could be doing it for 7 years, and then in the 1 year, it just shows up. Then you make $1 million. Financial freedom. That's literally exactly what it is. You're gonna start off with very little, but then once it turns into something really good, then you're like, wow, that's crazy. And then that next year, maybe you don't make $1 million, maybe you make less. But all it takes is 1 year of doing this over and over. I've seen plenty of people literally trade for 5-7 years, and then year 8, $1 million. So it's not easy, but at the end of the day, all you need is that repetition, but you need to know yourself, and you need to know the different strategies and how they work in your favor. And I get asked a lot, what are the rules? What strategy do I trade? And there's a lot of people that might want the quick results, but I know what took me from 0 to 100,000 was repeating the same thing over and over and finding my process, finding what works for me, and going from being so lost to, okay, I understand, but nothing is going to be easy. This isn't going to be quick. I mean, this might take a MacBook. It might take hours of your time, but at the end of the day, that financial freedom is something that working towards is amazing. And if you're in the intermediate stages, trust me when I tell you, you're not as far as you think you are. You might think you're very far because you think of those big numbers, 100,000, $1 million. Those are so big, but you're not that far. If you know what you're doing, if you're keeping track of things, if you know your platforms, if you're trying it every single day, you're not that far from 100,000. Let me know in the comments, what part of the journey are you in, and what I can help you with in the next few videos so that I know exactly what to tell you. And that just shut off. So that means I am gonna end the video, but thank you guys for watching, and let me know in the comments. I always read them. I'll see you guys in the next one.